Welcome to Cars on Call. I'm automotive journalist Steve Schutz, joined by regular partner Stephan Moran, our trauma surgeon. We're the only podcast that has a trauma surgeon that talks about trauma safety, something that we have and no one else does. So this is really, really cool. But we're also joined by my business partner and medical partner, supercar guy Jeff Bank, and Adams Hudson is away. So, Stefan, how are you?
Man, I'm glad to be here. I've heard Jeff on the show multiple times, and we've got this text group going on, I think like a lot of car people between Jeff, Steve-O, and myself. And I'm super excited because Jeff has got to do some things that I have not done yet on my bucket list, like we're going to talk about, maybe some Formula One. And so I'm excited to do a podcast with Jeff. I've heard him on the show with you, Steve-O, when I and Adams couldn't make it. So welcome to the show, Jeff,
Yeah.
again.
Jeff,
Well,
we're
thank
glad you're
you.
here.
Happy to be here, guys. Yeah, it's always great to be back and welcome back on. And yeah, so I just recently got to drive my Miata in the Fourth of July parade with our girls in the back. But before that, I think we now have a couple budding Formula One enthusiasts. We went to the Canadian Grand Prix over the Father's Day weekend and had an absolute blast. Spent a week in Montreal and got to witness a pretty epic race there. I think currently the only non-McLaren
Yeah,
podium there
that's right.
so far this season. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of talk about the season through the halfway point. And we've had I think some of the best races of the season so far were the very beginning and just the most recent race here at Silverstone, both wet rain races, and
Right.
what the rain always brings out the best drivers. And so I mean, I think so far it's been really McLaren all the way. They're way in the lead in the constructors, but I think now the drivers championship is still, a toss up at this point between Lando and Oscar. But I think been a pretty epic season to watch so far. I wanted to see what your guys' thoughts were as well. I know, Stefan, you're a Lewis fan.
Yeah, before we get into that, we're going to
Yeah.
go through trauma surgeon safety. After we talk Formula One, we're going to talk car spotting. The very interesting car spotting that I thought was a very noteworthy car, not necessarily a good car, but a noteworthy car. And then we're going to talk EVs. The federal subsidies going away in September. We're going to talk EVs and a little bit of car sales news, but not much. But
Cool.
Jeff's going to talk about the first half of the Formula One season. It's halfway done, and you kind of hinted at it earlier, Jeff, but it's unusual to have Formula One news and Spice Girl news, but we have that.
Like, yeah, that's why we're talking about Formula One because all the podcasts that I listen to
I
for
know.
automotive, they've all had emergency podcast.
Well,
Um,
we're not going to give away the topic, but yes, it's
yes,
absolutely true. So,
this
all right,
is
Jeff.
so this is our emergency podcast.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah,
It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, we are. We're a day late, but this is truly an emergency podcast because there's some
all
I
big
mean,
right.
news I can't wait to talk
it,
about.
I like
yeah, it
that.
is. I mean, it is cars on call, and we are all physicians on the podcast.
Yeah, we're on call. All right. So yeah, Jeff kind of carries through the first part of the season. You sort of did already, but anything else you want to add to what you just said?
Yeah, I guess I'm just looking at this season we got six new rookies who are in the field, and I think that everyone's watching to kind of see where these guys all shake out, who's going to be back next year, and who's been the best of the rookies so far. And I really think Isaac Hadjar with Racing Bulls has really stood out. I mean, he's achieved for some impressive points given the car that he has. I mean, our family favorite is Kimi Antonelli with Mercedes. Our girls are huge Kimi fans, and
They're
they
just in
watch
love.
the.
He's a boy toy,
This is a good looking boy.
He's a good looking boy, man. He's Italian. He's got that curly hair, and
I
I can see
know,
why the
yeah,
girls would be in love with him.
Well,
yeah. His girlfriend is
you
actually.
can
Oh,
fall in
good.
love with his name.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, his girlfriend's actually a race car driver as well, which is pretty cool. They've kind of grown up together doing that. But I on a Kimmy note, I highly recommend watching the Seat on Netflix, which talks about him taking over Lewis's spot at Mercedes. That's how their fandom started. But
So,
uh,
Stefan,
uh,
I just got to interrupt for a second, but Stefan, do you think that's better to be dating a race car driver, or do you think it's better to be dating the daughter of a race car driver?
Yeah,
The
daughter.
older daughter that's
Yeah,
older than you.
yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Take that, Max.
uh,
Who was a
yeah,
package deal that came with a kid from another marriage. So yeah,
it's true. He's adopted the older daughter already, and I think he's done a pretty good job as a dad. So credit where credit's due there, Max. But yeah, I think other highlights are like in a crazy parts of the season. I mean, Liam Lawson only lasted with Red Bull for two races, then got demoted, and still is being outperformed by a rookie, unfortunately. And then the second seed at Red Bull continues to be a
I'm
source
just
of
gonna I gotta make a
contention.
comment here,
Yeah,
man. Oh,
yeah,
Liam Lawson, man. The dude thought he was James Hunt, thought he had big balls, and he did not have them. Okay, when he had to go out there and show his stuff, the dude smack talked, and he couldn't perform, and he's not
yep,
performing on this team, and he won't, I don't think he won't be around next year. He's
No,
not. He had some good records coming out of F2, and but the minute the dude was way too freaking cocky, man, in the pits, and I'm not gonna be sorry to see him go. I think it
this is
was
yep,
life. How many times we see this in life? It
yes,
doesn't matter what part of life. There are people that are all talk, and all of a sudden they get exposed, and they're all talk. It happens all the time,
yep,
any field you can imagine.
yep.
yep, yep, yep. Yeah, and unfortunately, I mean, like going to the second seat at Red Bull, I mean, Yuki really hasn't done much, and I mean, well, and I think Checo Perez is just looking back at everybody saying now, yeah, see, I told you so. Nobody can drive this ridiculous car that only Max can handle. And I enjoyed Checo when he was in Formula One. Maybe he'll be back next year with Cadillac. Who knows? But yeah, it's been a great season to watch with the McLaren taking over the guard, and this being the last year before the huge 2026 regulation changes. And but I think moving forward, as far as the drivers championship goes, I think my pick's still on Oscar. I just think, I mean, Lando's coming back here for the next couple races, but I mean, Oscar made a slight mistake in the last race with the safety
A
car and
boneheaded mistake.
breaking too
That was
hard. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So just for the listeners that don't watch F1, so under the
yeah.
safety car, when the safety car, so the cars have to line up behind the safety car and they go slow. And they worry about their brakes getting cold, their tires getting cold. So they're accelerating, hitting the brakes, accelerating, hitting the brakes, weaving back and forth. Well, George Russell did it
In
to
Canada. Yeah, yeah,
Canada, and they did
yeah.
not find him. But
His wasn't as
O-
egregious.
Oscar slowed down by 100 miles per hour with 59 pounds of foot pressure on the brake. And
Which
Max
was about double of what George put on. Yeah,
Yeah.
double, yeah,
in
George put
Canada.
on.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And
Max,
behind, so he was coming up behind the safety car. He would have hit it if he
yeah.
hadn't braked hard.
And then Max would have hit him if he didn't weave himself. So yeah,
But how many times we've seen the accordion effect in
Mhm.
Formula One? And they're neat. I don't think they should be able to behind the safety car. I mean, the braking, I think that was just a boneheaded maneuver on his part. He was trying to, I think, play with Max's head because Max is playing with everybody else's head. And he's
Right.
always like, he's kind of like, if you, Max, you're not getting in my head. I'm going to teach you something. So, but didn't work well for him. He was a little bit whiny towards the end. He wasn't happy with it, but I can understand that. But once he
yeah,
saw the
and I
data,
think yeah, and I think he stopped himself from saying anything too dumb.
yes,
And I think
yeah,
he's still your kind of Aussie, calm, cool, collected. And
yeah,
I could see why he was upset. I agree with the penalty, but I still think he's got the consistency to get himself a championship there at the end of the year. Lando's kind of had ups and downs, and that doesn't always win championships. But
Well,
I really appreciate it.
let's
Yeah,
not forget to mention their team. So this is McLaren, and
yeah,
typically it's Red Bull running away with it. Well, this year it's McLaren running away with it, and it's amazing. I mean, honestly, they haven't been this strong in 25, 30 years.
Yeah,
Maybe
late 90s. Yeah.
you could argue they haven't been this strong since the 80s.
Yeah.
So
But
McLaren
Zach
is
Brown, man,
amazing.
Zach Brown's just doing a fantastic
Zach
job.
Brown is their team principal. He's an American, which is it's unique in Formula One, and he's a great guy. Maybe Stefan, you could tell the story about the tire water, which is hilarious.
Okay, well, wait, yeah, here we go. So, the big news is
I love that picture.
the big news this week was, as I referred to him in the past, Christian Horner, the team principal for Red Bull, who I have very affectionately called whiny ass bitch, Spice Girl wannabe, Drive to Survive, F1 housewife, leading bitch. I just can't stand Christian Horner. He's just a whiny ass bitch. I never liked him. He got fired this week. But he does have 8 driver championships, I think.
Yep,
For with
Correct.
Vettel,
Yep.
for with
Yep.
Max, he's got 7 constructor championships. He's been the team
6.
principal. 6.
6. Yeah.
He's
6.
been the
Yeah.
team principal for 20 years. But so he's always he comes on the radio and is like trying to prompt the stewards all the time. He files complaints all the time about the other teams. He actually accused McLaren of putting water inside of their tires, and that's how they're keeping their tire temperature controlled. So Zach Brown, I mean, the dude's got balls, man. He came out and he had this water bottle for you listeners that can't see, but he's got a water bottle sitting at his monitors that says "tire water!" exclamation mark. I just thought that
It's
was
fantastic. Yeah.
the funniest damn thing. So yeah, I think it's going to be a lot less entertaining without Christian Horner, but Christian Horner will come back. I think Vassar with Ferrari is on his way out. He's going to be the next team principal to get fired. I don't see him surviving another couple of races.
I want to before we leave Christian
But
Horner. I don't want to
yeah,
leave him yet, but
I got a little poem about Christian Horner too.
before you get to your poem, which I'm terrified to hear,
Me too.
Stefan. Well, we'll let Jeff chime in before your poem too. But this guy, to give him his credit, do I like him personally? I
Yeah.
always thought he was okay. I was bothered that he had been sexting with his subordinate, a younger woman, and
Yes.
sexting. So that's very inappropriate, and that was a no for me. That was just two
They
years
say he was
ago.
found not, it was investigated twice by Red Bull. It's going to civil court apparently.
Of course, it's
So
going. They'll settle
yes,
it before it goes to civil court.
yes,
And
absolutely. He can't let it go to civil court.
this girl's going to get $5 million, maybe 10, and this is going to go away. And I don't like that. But I will say this: he kept his job for 20 years. When he took over Red Bull, they were nothing. They bought the
Nothing.
Jaguar team, the
Yeah, you were.
remnants
Yeah.
of the Jaguar team, and he built it into this powerhouse. 2 separate multi-year world champions, Sebastian Vettel and then Max Verstappen. It's very, very hard to do that. And if you say, well, of course he had Red Bull money, they had less money than Toyota had, and Toyota couldn't do squat.
Mm.
So you have to give him his due. Now, on the funny side, he's married to Ginger Spice, and Ginger Spice looked the other way with his sexting. Presumably, this is not the first time he's been sexting with a right. I mean, no one ever does it once, but you have to give him his due.
I agree. I think he's built Red Bull up from absolutely nothing, and I think he's found people to promote within the organization, including Adrian Newey. He promoted Sebastian Vettel from Alpha Tauri when he up to Red Bull, and then I'm a Formula One fan because of Sebastian Vettel and the blown diffuser area and all those world championships that he won, and so I have to credit Christian Horner for at least promoting from within, be it Christian or Adrian Newey, Jonathan Wheatley, and then being able to recruit people like Max Verstappen. And why should a sports drink company be at the dominating on the Formula One stage over your very established teams like Ferrari and McLaren? And so I agree that the social aspect of him and his personality leaves a lot to be desired. But I think he's going to continue on in some sort of advisory or brand ambassador role for Red Bull. All right, Stefan.
All right,
already.
let's run through these pictures
Yeah, let's
real.
do it.
Let's see your pictures real
Oh
quick
no, we got to
here.
your poem.
No, we'll get to my
Oh,
poem, but
all right.
Okay.
here's Liam Lawson.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I got to meet him up close. He actually there were fans that he was riding his bike around the track. They're like, look, he's even riding his bike slowly.
Was he
But he
nice?
can't. He actually was. Yeah,
Okay,
he
good for
stood there,
him.
took pictures with, I mean, more than 20 people,
Good for
including
him.
me before he went to the garage. He was the
Yeah.
only driver who came over and did that kind of when I was able to be there near the pit lane. And I wished him
He's
well
soaking
because
it up because
By
these are
the way,
fleeting moments for him.
that's very
yeah,
funny, Jeff.
yeah,
He even
yeah.
rides his bike slowly. Ha ha
That was what some of the crowd had said. Yeah, and then so we got to go tour there on the pit lane, and obviously I was very excited to go to the McLaren garage, and then we got to walk by all of them. They're doing pit stops for practice. The girls were most excited about seeing Kimmy's garage there, and then this is and then the very last one here is after the podium ceremony when all the fans got to go on to track, and this is from our seats. We were just there right across from pit lane and the start stop, and right there at the straight where Lando and Oscar had their crash just towards the end. So it was I mean, just a bucket list, fantastic experience. So, and now
Fantastic.
but the most important part is I have two little girls who are F1 fans, and I have them clamoring to come watch races on the weekend with me, which is amazing.
I love that.
Well,
Yeah.
it's been Formula Pirelli all year, except for when
Yes.
it rains. So I pray for rain for every race the last half of the season. Otherwise, it's just boring as hell.
Amen. All right, let's
Okay.
hear your poem before
Here's
we
my
move
little
on.
haiku poem. Here to you, whiny ass bitch. Uh, I won't be a mourner for Horner. Betting Max wielded the axe. Joseph's certainly no longer morose, and Ginger Spice won't be throwing rice at your marriage with the assistant.
Oh, wow.
There's so many levels to that. Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, before we leave Formula One, I've thought of something that I think is really interesting. I have no, well, I think I have an explanation. Maybe I don't. Why is it that in the 1980s, during the heyday of both Formula One and tennis, the career span of a male tennis player champion and a Formula One champion was about the same? It was 5 to 10 years.
Wow.
And now, the Formula One champion, unless you're Lewis Hamilton, you are one, like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 seasons and you're done. People are already talking about Max getting old. It's a much shorter span for most Formula One racers, whereas in tennis, they don't retire till they used to retire at 30. Now they retire at 40.
I'd say sports medicine and physiatry. These guys have personal trainers, they've got dietitians. I mean, they religiously manage their diet. They manage every single little ache and pain. They do all kind of therapy. And I think what they're doing is, we're all, as a human, we're a machine. The maintenance on the human machine has gotten to the point to extend the longevity of an athlete.
So you're thinking they're all clean, right? Even Yannick Sinner.
Yeah. Oh, that was a good one.
No, I'm just asking, right?
He's too damn
You gotta
skinny to
wonder.
look like what's he dope? What's he using? He's so skinny.
It's probably EPO or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Trauma surgeon safety. We're the only podcast that has a trauma surgeon. It's the bond.
All right. So we're going to revisit one of my favorite topics here, Tesla. Because Elon Musk and Doge and our government, all that, Tesla have been in the news a lot. And I've ranted multiple times about Tesla's full self-driving mode. And my biggest argument has been over and over and over that we are not the beta testers for Tesla, which we have continued to be for Tesla. And I criticized Tesla a long time ago, initially on that in their advanced driving system, their full self-driving mode, they rely on one thing and one thing only to process data of the environment, and that is cameras. They don't use lidar and they don't use radar. So, and absolutely opposed to this from the beginning. But as we make this natural progression that we're going to do from cars that we drive to fully autonomous vehicles and then driving assisted vehicles. We have to do so, but we've got to be very evidence-based about it. And we've got to do this based on real world experience. Now, hands down, I'm going to say even the Teslas and the Waymos, they're all safer than human drivers. But once again, we can't do this in a beta type fashion. I mean, we're all scared to death of the robots taking over the world. We've seen too many Terminator movies. But Tesla, just to me, has violated the ethos of bringing new technology to the market, especially in the automotive world. Who has done it right is Waymo. Steve-O, I know you rode with Waymo in San Francisco. They started in very limited areas. They had every sensor available to them. They had drivers monitoring it. And as their data increases, they've modified their approach and their systems and the software. Without a doubt, we will all be safer the day that you're driving down the interstate and everybody on the interstate is just laid back and the car is doing its thing, communicating with other vehicles down the road. It knows there's an accident a mile and a half down the road. You start to slow down early, so you don't get the accordion effect and crashes. If you actually look at Waymo's data, which is limited to several cities, but it's not rolled out nationwide, but they have 88% fewer serious injuries or worse crashes. They have 79% fewer airbag deployments. Now, when you think about that is from the insurance perspective. If you have a crash and deploy all your airbags, pretty much your vehicle's total. So from the insurance industry standpoint, this is huge that with Waymo and their data and their self-driving mode, they've got 79% fewer deployments. I've talked about pedestrians in this country and cyclists, which are referred to as petacyclists. 93% fewer pedestrians injured with Waymo and 81% fewer cyclists.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Those are
yeah,
huge. I mean, those are
that's
very impressive
huge
numbers all around.
numbers.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
think about it. Waymo has a 360-degree light detection and ranging. That's what lidar is. They also use radar and they use cameras. Now, the thing to understand is lidar provides 3D geometry to the world that it sees. Radar provides data in poor visibility, and cameras provide incredibly rich visual context, meaning they can read the signs. So you combine these three technologies, now you have basically like a commercial airliner. It's got redundant systems because each system has its weakness. Tesla, nope, they said we're doing cameras only. Now, cameras do provide the most information, but cameras can fail and you need a backup system. You need redundancies. Well, NHTSA finally got involved with this and had a standing general order data where they're looking at everything. But the thing to understand is Tesla accounted for 70% of all level 2 crashes with activated driving system in the US. And what they looked at was in these scenarios, it was a problem of depth perception with the camera, or the camera could not detect an object. And in all these instances, LiDAR, radar would have improved the processing of the information that was available. MIT looked at this, IAH has looked at this, Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. Everybody agrees that you need a redundant system. And they found that actually if Tesla would simply add LiDAR or radar, they could decrease their collision rates by 40 to 60%. And specifically at stopped vehicles, the camera has a problem with stopped vehicles. It has a problem with crossing pedestrians or cyclists. It has a problem with vehicles in adjacent lanes.
So are those
So
all depth perception issues then?
depth
Is that
perception issues
okay?
that can come
Okay.
in with lighting,
Okay.
inadequate lighting, the sun in the camera. So all in all, Tesla's got fantastic software based on camera data processing and software and code. But what it does not have is in instances of low visibility or lateral movement coming into the field without a 360 span, it can't detect the pedestrian stepping out between because it has to process that data. So if you look at Tesla, they've had 58 autopilot deaths and they've had two full self-driving mode deaths in the last couple of years, which is way higher than everybody else that's running automated driving systems. And one of the most interesting ones, which brings us to the point. We've all driven in the car where you're headed west and it's the setting sun and you cannot see a damn thing. Okay, imagine if you can't see it, a camera's not going to see it. So on November 27th this last year on Interstate 17, two vehicles collided on the interstate because of the setting sun. They could not see. A forerunner, God forbid a forerunner,
Uh,
but a 71-year-old woman got out of the vehicle, was standing next to the vehicle, and the Tesla just ran her over. So that the sun was in the Tesla's camera, and the camera could not see the lady standing adjacent to the vehicle. And when it drove by, missing the vehicle, it clipped the pedestrian. So sun glare was a contributing factor to both crashes. But once again, this crash would not have occurred had the Tesla had lidar or radar. So we have the NHTSA has National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has the data. I mean, they just need to get off their asses and say if you're going to have automated driving systems, full self-driving mode, partial self-driving mode, as we progress from level 2, 3, 4, all the way to autonomous vehicles, cameras are inadequate. And these are case in points. Is it only two deaths from a camera? Well, you know what? That's too many in an automated world. Now you put that in there across every vehicle. Simply, you need radar. We simply need to add radar. So once again, unhappy with Tesla not adding radar or lidar. I think Waymo has an outstanding record. But you look at their cars, they got sensors all over them. But they've done it right once again. They have been in beta mode, but they've been in beta mode with redundant systems to make sure that nothing happens that's not within their control. There's
all
always going to
right.
be an exception, but automated driving system as we proceed to vehicle autonomous driving. And right now, what I'm all for is the Ford system, Volvo, Mercedes. The vehicle's monitoring the driver to make sure the driver is actively participating in looking for potential disasters. I mean, my Ford is amazing. If I pick up my cell phone and put my cell phone in front of me in front of the speedometer, it can tell my eyes are looking down at the dash and not looking at the road. General Motors has their part of their deal is you have to have your hand on the wheel. And each company has its own monitoring system. I like the Fords with the monitoring the eyes. I think that's key because if you can do it with one eye, but if you close both eyes, it warns you. But so you're still watching it. You're still making sure the car does the right thing. You're looking for scenarios that are not in the software because think about it. This is all beta software, and I driving my Ford have agreed that all my driving data goes to Ford. And that's important because Ford needs that information to figure out what scenarios did their software code not work. But cameras are not enough. Tesla, Elon Musk, I'm still pissed that you're doing it. And I'm pissed that NHTSA has not made it such that you have to have a redundant system.
I bet that's
So
coming.
Stefan, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, with the looking at your eyes, just think of on a racetrack. I mean, you drive where your eyes are looking, and so I think Ford system makes some more sense safety wise, like to monitor where your eyes are. Like, who cares if you have one hand on the wheel as
Right.
far as GM goes? But yeah, that I think that makes sense as far as what they're doing.
What this reminds me of is roughly, no joke, 10 years ago, maybe 8 years ago. But once we started having, it would be 10 years ago because we had the Google car, which was the predecessor to Waymo. It was a little goofy car that Jack Roush built for Google, and it was called Google Car, and it was autonomous. And that was about 10 years ago. And people, of course, just like you guys, because I'm a car guy, people ask me about car stuff all the time. So I started when the Google car came out, getting questions about when is every car going to be self-driving? What's the future? And here's what I said. I said it's going to take at least 20 years. So now we're 10 years in. It's going to take at least 20 years. I said, I think probably 30, number one. I said, and in 30 years, maybe 40 years, we're going to have all self-driving cars and they're all going to be electric. And it's going to be amazing. They're going to have range and everything like that. There you go. But I said, until we get to that point, which is I said, I think it's 30 years away, maybe 20, but I think it's 30. Until then, it's going to be messy. This is messy.
This is messy. And it's simple.
Very,
I mean,
yeah.
to me, it's just so damn simple, you know,
Well,
but
Stefan,
we
to be
can't,
fair,
we,
Well,
if Tesla were to put lidar on tomorrow on all their cars, there still would be problems. Waymo has problems.
yes, yes.
This is going to take more time.
And we're not, and
and
I don't want to be a beta tester. So
Yeah,
you bring in a
yeah,
system that is downgraded from its potential to minimize risk.
yeah. All
And I
right,
think Ford
we
has
got to
done
move
that.
on.
Yep. All right, let's move on.
We got to move on. But of course, Jeff, Jeff and I agree with you, and I bet you most listeners do, right? I mean, come on, you want to have the best system
Yeah.
possible and not have people die. All
yeah,
right,
and
so
Waymo's coming out with an integrated car here soon that's not going to look quite so dorky with all those sensors. So I think that like the styling part of it is a non-issue here soon.
I think the end game for Waymo is they become a software hardware seller or
Yes,
provider. They
absolutely.
are a supplier. So they
Mhm.
provide OEMs like Ford or Chevy or Honda with a package. It's a hardware package and a software package together. And it just goes on top of your car, probably in a very unobtrusive way. They probably install it at the factory. You don't even know it's there, but that
Yeah.
provides the self-driving part of it. And eventually the steering wheel goes away and we get to this feature that I was talking about earlier. Hey, we got to switch gears, but
Yep.
the reason I just saw this car in a parking lot 2 days ago, it's a 1979 280ZX. It's a Datsun 280ZX. And I didn't realize this. I noticed it on the car, but I didn't realize this. Stefan, I don't know if you knew this, Jeff. This is before your time, I'm sure, but this is the first Datsun that said Datsun by Nissan on the badge. And I noticed it, but I didn't
Hmm.
really think
Oh,
much of it.
yes.
No
It was the
kidding.
first
Hmm.
one. And the
Yes.
Sentra, I remember the Sentra came out a couple years later, I think 82. And the Sentra was launched with the tagline, the name is Nissan. But the reason, here's stuff, I want you guys to both look at the other angle of the car. So if you look at that picture plus this picture, this is a small car. And Stefan, you'll certainly remember this. Enthusiasts, and I was an enthusiast then, just like I am now, were offended and upset that this
Yes.
car was fat and bloated. The 280Z, it replaced the 280Z, which was skinnier and smaller, had the same wheelbase, but it was smaller and it was lighter. And this car came out and we said, this is a chubby, unenthusiast car it's fat and slow. And now it looks tiny.
And then not only that, they added insult to injury, and then they did the 300 ZX.
Well,
But the
that came later. So this
that
was the
came later, but
280.
the 2ZX. So I'm gonna give a shout out here to my buddy Jimbo Walter, best friend from college, whose wife Sharon Walter was Sharon Rushing at the time. She was my wife's little sister in sorority. She had one of these.
Whoa.
Um, yeah, she drove one of these in college, and it had the T tops. It had all these luxury appointments. I mean,
Wow.
it was, it evolved into, to me, kind of the, please don't be offended, Sharon. It evolved into the secretary's car. It,
Yes.
it, it, it,
Yeah.
it, they chose an entirely different demographic to appeal to. It lost all of its sportiness. It had the same shape, and then they added all these different accoutrements to it, all this fancy stuff
Just
up and down,
luxury. Yeah. Yeah.
luxury, and they threw sportiness out the window, but they kept the same basic shape.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And this was sold from 1979 to 1983. It was heavier and slower, but more luxurious, Stefan. You're
Yes.
absolutely right,
Yes.
than the 280Z that preceded it. And enthusiasts like me were very upset and
I was
disappointed.
upset too.
And guess what?
Yeah.
It sold
It
way
sold.
more.
Yes, it sold way more. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It
I
sold like
love that.
crazy.
Wow. No, I love that how integrated that air intake is on the hood
Oh
there. I
yeah.
mean, yeah, that's, I mean, it kind of reminds me, I mean, of the like the tack on the hood from the late 60s muscle cars, like just to, I mean, that like how special the hoods were. And then I just look at all, I mean, how much glass there is and the visibility. I mean, compared to what the Z is now on a bunch of sports cars, I'm like, this looks
Yep.
like there's tons of visibility.
I love those mini light-esque wheels
Yeah.
too. Those
Yeah.
are
Yeah, those
fantastic
are
wheels,
sweet. Yeah.
man. Those are sweet. That was a very
This,
sweet looking car, but
yeah.
it lost it's kind of like owning a four-cylinder Mustang is what it became. Just a
Mm,
dog. It's like this is like the Mustang
yeah.
2 of the 280ZXs. It was higher appointment and luxury and more comfy, and it went from sports car to being a Luxo barge GT cruiser.
Yeah. Yeah.
It lost
Anyway,
its soul.
it was an interesting moment for me as an enthusiast where I used to hate the car because it was fat and bloated. Now I look at it, it's tiny. And
Yeah.
you compare it to even our small SUVs or crossovers, it stands out as being absolutely tiny. And it's certainly smaller than my 911, even though this is a car that raced successfully,
Yep.
despite its kind of luxury image. They race very successful. This is Bob Sharp Racing out of Connecticut. They raced in SCCA and won championships, and they moved over to IMSA. And Paul Newman was their featured driver.
Dude, that car looks awesome.
Wow.
The proportions on that thing, I don't like wings at all. But I gotta say, that wing on the back of that car,
It's
that
badass.
car
Yeah.
looks awesome.
By the way,
That's
I'll
just
say something really quickly, and this is interesting. Keep that picture up. They had a problem on racetracks where there was a lot, long straights and also fast corners where they had lift in the rear and they couldn't get the cars to really go around the corner as fast as they wanted. But they had to keep the cars stock. There were very strict rules. So if you see that particular picture, that rear wing was not allowed until Nissan sold a certain number of cars. They had to homologate that wing. So they sold like this GT or something version, and the wing was removable. So the wing looked kind of crazy, but people bought the car because why not? And a lot of people bought the car and then removed the wing or had the dealer remove the wing, and they only sold it that way. They made the car look terrible, but they sold it so they could use the wing in racing.
Hmm,
oh, very interesting. I did not know
that's
that.
cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
All right, let's move on. Jeff, you got something to say about EVs. In fact, you want to get an EV. So let's talk about EVs and the federal subsidy that's going away.
Yeah, so it's going away as I think we all know here in September of this year, and so you're just looking at obviously Trump and Elon used to be best friends, and now they're no longer, and they probably wrote
Imagine that.
yeah, I think they probably wrote a haiku about each other, just like you did, Stefan. um,
I bet there's a little more profanity involved, though.
I'm sure, but yeah. So I looking at this, I just look at with the subsidies going away, and then I also read that there are many EV leases that were taken out in the summer to fall of 2023 that are all coming up for being done with their lease here around the same time. I think in 2023, I think people were able to take advantage of the EV tax credit as well as some more favorable financing rates. And so there are a bunch of people who took out EV leases at that time. And so you just look at, you're going to flood the used EV market with an already depreciating asset coupled with your EV tax credit going away in the fall. And you just look at like, this is going to be a huge, I mean, even worse bombshell to the EV industry. And, Tesla's going down the toilet as is, but and manufacturers, Porsche, among others, are pulling out of making EVs. But you just look at this as, I mean, as Steve was saying earlier, like it's a bumpy road, and this is I think a huge pothole that we're coming towards.
Yep. So I want to add to Great comment, Jeff. And I want to add, I looked up this because I knew we were going to talk about it. What's interesting is in the US, first quarter 2025, EV sales are down 26% from peak. That's
Wow.
going to get worse with these tax credits going away. Globally, sales of EVs are up 35%, which I found very interesting in this first quarter.
Wow.
Tesla global deliveries are down 13.5% in quarter two, and US registrations are down 16%. Their market share in the United States for Tesla went from 60% last year to 38%. So Elon really stepped on it bad. He stepped on his dick. I mean,
It
with this
reminds me of
whole,
the Dixie Chicks, and
yes. Oh,
Sure.
great. Yeah, great
Formerly known as the Dixie
comparison.
Chicks.
reminds
Yeah.
us of the
Yeah.
Dixie Chicks,
Oh,
and
yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and their audience is country music, which is primarily conservative people, and they were very insulting toward Republican President George W. Bush, and there was a big
Yes.
backlash among their listeners. Well, you have to know who your listeners are. I remember at that time making a comment to somebody that, hey, if you're Bob Dylan and you're pro Iraq war, you better keep it to yourself because your listeners are not pro Iraq war. They're not
Yeah.
pro George W. Bush. You have to know who your customers are, and the most Tesla owners by far and buyers by far are liberal and lean left.
Democrats.
So
Yep. Yep.
so to come out the way he did and be very political, very pro Trump and very pro Doge and cuts on spending and things like that, your customers do not want that. Absolutely not. And he should have thought about that. Of course, this is the outcome.
Yes. So it kind of balanced to the way Elon Musk has handled it. We don't typically hear from CEOs of major car companies. They're just typically, they don't like to be in the limelight, except for Jim Farley of Ford. I'm a huge Ford guy. I think Jim Farley is going to go down, I said it before, as one of the greatest CEOs of Ford of all time. But he is all about this. But he said, you know what? We have backed up at Ford. We've realized that we need to make, he called it the Model T of EVs. He said the sweet point for entry for EVs, compact, quality price models built via dedicated Skunksworks team in California is targeting $30,000. So he realized, says we're out of the big 7-passenger EVs. We're out of the 8,000-pound trucks to 10,000 EVs entry level. And think about it, where in the US you can use those. Cities, of course, right? Or
With
urban
charging
areas.
networks. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
where you've got a network to recharge. So he's pulling back on there, and he's putting money back into hybrid vehicles. To me, that makes total sense for America. I mean, I think it's a terrible waste every time you break a car, you're converting energy to heat, and that heat is lost through your brakes. It's lost energy. Why not, when you let off the gas, instead of hitting the brakes, you let off the gas, you've got a generator, so to speak, now, electric motor that recuperates that energy instead of converting it to heat, which is lost to the environment as an exotropic reaction. You now have an entropy, and you're converting that energy to electricity, which you can use down the road. So he's putting big money in hybrids, and I think we are bridging to EVs. And what is the bridge to EV in the United States of America? Hybrids and plug-in hybrids. And Jim Farley is making a big change at Ford, and he is pushing hard on this. And I just think that everybody else knows this for America. They're not ready to jump on it, but Jim's all about it. And
Sorry, Jeff is dying to break in, but before you do, I want to make
I'll
one
just tell
point.
him, yeah,
No, it's good. I want to make one point. And Stefan, I agree. I think when I think about looking forward, I think Jim Farley is, at least in the American CEOs, absolutely the top. But I would say something. 10 years ago, we didn't know it, but we had three options for green cars that now the fight is kind of over. The fight is over, but we had
yes,
three options you could buy 10 years ago, and we didn't know which one was going to win. Nissan Leaf, Chevy Volt, Toyota Prius. And we had no idea, I didn't know that the Volt was going to win. It was a plug-in hybrid with a generator that was an engine, and it was basically an EV with a generator on it that you could also plug in. The Volt 10 years ago showed us the way. We just didn't know it, and here we are.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it didn't sell. And
No,
It's like the
no, it
lease.
yeah,
didn't.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And now you go. I mean, we put our money behind the Prius, which still is an excellent car, but it's really. I remember when the Volt came out, I was like, oh man, this has to be it. This is the future. And then you look at the sales figures, and they were just in the toilet. But yeah,
But everyone thought back then it was going to be a Leaf. It was going to be a
Right.
full
So
BEV, and they were wrong.
yeah.
And I
It
would,
it
here's
won the
what
I
you
was,
World
can.
Car of the
Yeah.
Year. Yeah, yeah,
Outside the state of California to the rest you can sell to the other Americans from the other 49 states is a hybrid EV plug-in, whatever you want to call it, but they can still put gas in it, okay? They don't care about where the energy goes, but they want to be able to stick gas in the vehicle. So whatever mechanism you want, whether it's plug-in, EV, hybrid, EV, hybrid or hybrid, plug-in hybrid, or regular hybrid, or the generator,
easy
it's
for you to
gotta
say.
have, yes, it's complicated. It's gotta have a place to put gas in it, okay? If you want to sell it in America with a battery, it's gotta have a place to put gas in it. That's just
Yeah.
so
that
you could get
simple.
through. Yeah, so you get through backwoods Alabama, or you get
Yes,
through rural Idaho. Yeah, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
And I don't
So
care what the gas does. I don't care as long as it makes the car go. If
sure.
it's making electricity and making the car go with electricity, that's fine. I don't care. But I gotta have a place to put gas in it. Okay. And Farley has recognized that. He should recognize it, but he was like everybody else in the world riding that EV bandwagon. But they are putting big bucks into variations of hybrid. But you gotta be able to put gas in it. That's the key.
So Stefan, is what Jim Farley's coming out with, is that going to compete with the Slate truck that Jeff Bezos is backing? Or is I mean, and his is complete battery electric
Yeah.
at this point. But is that where
Battery,
he's aiming, or
No,
is
with
it
Jim,
it's battery electric vaporware.
yeah, babe. So yeah,
that
exactly.
Bezos is? Yeah,
What
yeah,
what Jim Farley has realized is that there is a huge market across the US for your truck that you put in the driveway, and when a storm comes through, power goes through, you start the gas motor and that truck runs your house. Okay.
sure.
That is the hybrid truck that Ford already has that Farley is going to continue emphasizing. And they're going to make the Lightning, but they're not. That is the one that he realized when you're talking about a large vehicle, people want to plug their home into it. And that's what he's focusing on. And then they're focusing on the low range, the entry level EV. Then everything else they're going to make a hybrid or a plug-in hybrid in that very slow transition to one day being all V. And I think it's very important. I think that's clearly the way to go. I mean,
I
who wants
got
to?
something to say about Slate, and I'm glad you brought that up because I've been dying to say
Yeah.
something about this. I think for young pickup buyers, there's three things they want. Number one, a Maverick. Ford
Yep,
Maverick is
100%.
owns this,
Yeah,
Yeah.
owns
And the
it.
Santa
100%.
Fe, Santa Fe right behind it.
Number
Yeah.
two, Hyundai Santa Fe. I
Yes,
complete not to say it's the is it the Santa Fe? The little truck? Yeah, it's the Santa Fe.
this is Santa Fe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's number two. Number three, a used Tacoma. Those
Yes.
are what young people are wanting, or a used Forerunner.
Yes.
There's not, I don't see any desire for this slate. And I think that, yeah, Bezos probably put money into it, but when he was putting money into it, he was distracted by Lauren Sanchez. This is not Jeff Bezos focusing. This is
I
Jeff
thought,
Bezos distracted.
yeah, he
She
doesn't he have
distracts me too, but come on.
yeah, he's got an aftermarket park company with her.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh yeah.
Well, but speaking of that, I mean, with the Slate, I mean, you can customize it to your heart's content, and I think that's something that,
but
I mean,
if
uh,
they did that with a gasoline motor, because
yeah,
these kids like my daughter, she loves the outdoor life, but she's constantly going to the mountains. She's
Right.
going hiking, canoeing, kayaking. You can't do it in that slate. You got to find freaking electricity in North Carolina in the mountains, and it's not there.
Stefan, I mean, I love the way you said all the Slate needs is a place for you to put gasoline.
Yes, and then it'll be fine. I mean,
I agree.
See, yeah, you
And then it'd
buy
be
a
a Maverick.
Slate,
Yeah.
you buy a Slate, and then you go to Harbor Freight and buy a gas generator, put it in the back, and then you can put gas in it and start your generator and plug in your Slate and get out of there.
It has been so interesting to see this evolution over the 10 years. It's been so interesting
Yes.
because
Yeah.
I, in my heart of hearts, looked at everything. I'm like, we're going to be electric. They're going to go 500 miles. You're going to plug them in. There's going to be chargers everywhere. I get it. If you go 500, 600,
Yeah, but you were
800
also
miles,
saying the dogs aren't eating the dog food. You said
It's
that
true.
a long time ago.
I did say
in the
that.
trough of
Yes.
disillusionment. Yes.
I said the dogs aren't eating the dog food,
Yes.
but in my heart, I was thinking they're going to.
Yes,
And I didn't think it would take this long. And now they're still not eating. I thought they'd be better dog food.
For me, it's always been. I'll finish real quick, Jeff. I'm sorry. To me, it's been an infrastructure issue. There are not enough charging stations. That's the problem.
All right, let's do a thought experiment. There's a charging station. Every place there's a gas station. I don't think it moves the needle for EVs
No,
because they don't go far enough.
And
You
mobile
gotta-
one, mobile
you
one
got to
doesn't
pull
want
over
that.
and charge for 20 minutes or a half an hour or an hour every 200 miles. Nobody wants that.
No.
Well, and then you also think of the elderly population who, they don't know how to use their iPhone, or they don't know how to use the tablet that's in their Tesla, and they're just going to
Amen,
run
brother.
it into the ground, and then and then we're going to have them all stranded on the side of the highway, and then those cars will be stolen. But I think as in the wise words of Steve Schutz, we're still in the trough of disillusionment. I think it's getting deeper with these subsidies being pulled, and the support for the infrastructure going away with the subsidies.
And I think every manufacturer is at the same. They came to this conclusion, I think 5 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, and they said, "Holy shit, this isn't working, and this is not going to work in the next 10 years." And they're all frantically putting a place to put gas in their cars.
And who remained, what's the word? Steady. Toyota.
Yeah.
Toyota did not buy into this
They
game.
didn't flinch. Yeah.
They didn't flinch. He was Toyota said, "I ain't buying this. This is not going." And he got a lot of grief for it, and he was right in the end.
Stefan, I think I gave you the final word. We're out
Yeah.
of time, and that's well said. So,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
all right. Well, we are psyched that Jeff, you were able to join us.
Yeah,
We're
thanks for
sorry.
joining us.
Thank you
Jeff.
for having me. This was fun. Yeah.
We're sorry that Adams is still unavailable. So this is great. I really appreciate this. And Stefan, why don't you close us out? Any final words or whatever? Or Jeff, any final words?
Oh, can you see the tear for Christian Horner rolling down my cheek?
I think he's gonna write you a poem back.
You Spice Girl bitch wannabe.
Listen, I don't think
riddance.
that guy, I don't think he walks away with less than $50 million, maybe
Nah,
20. He got a golden platinum parachute.
He did.
Yeah,
but
and we'll see what happens to Max. But,
I
yeah.
do feel sorry. He did a tremendous amount for that team, and I think that was. But it's classic Red Bull to do that to their people. That you don't perform, you're out. And I think he deserved better than that of an exit. I really do. I think that was
An insult.
I think it was an insult and rude. Even though I don't like Christian, I think that was rude. I think it was poorly handled on their part. But Max is staying at Red Bull. He's not going anywhere. He got rid of Christian Horner. Now he can shape that team around he and his dad can shape that team any way they want. So remember to like, subscribe, hit the
100%.
button. That way you'll get notified. Leave some comments. Well, hopefully one of us will read them. And we'll see you guys soon.
Take care.